guys, Marsingin here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so I did this for the part 1 units, including the free-to-play units that would awaken up into the LRs, even though they're not getting their awakenings all the way until part 3. But I'm going to do a hidden potential guide for the part 2 Carnival LRs, and then I'm also going to throw in the 5-year fusions who get their EZA in part 3. Obviously, they're not new units. Some of you will have had them for quite some time. But obviously, with the fact we've been getting a lot of free skill orbs recently, even if you can't change their base abilities because you don't have any extra copies or you don't want to spend 5 stones to reset one of them, you obviously could use skill orbs to try and balance out any areas where maybe if you went too much additional and you wish you'd gone more crit, you could obviously use some of those to change you know, the skill orbs themselves into more crit, right? So I'm going to go through both the Carnival LRs and the 5-year EZA'S, STR Gogeta and Tech with Geo Blue. Now, obviously, it's just my opinion on what I think the best build is. This is basically how I'm going to build mine, if I get dupes of the new LRs, of course, but some point down the road I obviously will. Even at 55%, you know, you put skill orbs into them to give them some of these extra abilities. And yeah, you go from there. So as I say, this is my opinion. We're starting off with the AGL Goku, who probably is the most controversial one. You guys probably know why if you ever watch any of Truth's content or watch him on Twitter, or the shenanigans that he gets up to. So this Goku is a unit that infinitely stacks defense on his 18 key, and then he raises attack and defense for 1 turn on 12 key. He does raise attack for 1 turn on the 18 key as well. But when it comes to the 12 key super attack abilities, it's just raise attack and defense for 1 turn. So additionals definitely are good for him, because any additional supers he gets, he raises attack and defense for the turn again, right? So always good to raise those stats. Now, he is a very, very strong tank, and he is a very good slot 1 unit, right? So you get your entrance animation, you get key 4, attack and defense 59%, and guard all attacks for 6 turns from the start of the turn. So if he's on turn 1, he has guard all the way up to and including turn 7, which is really good. You can put him in slot 1. He survives KO attacks once per turn. So even if he gets blasted by a super in slot 1, he will only ever drop to 1 HP. Now, obviously, if there's then a second attack coming, then he dies, because the minimum you can take from attacks in Dokkan is double-digit damage. Even when you have over 100% damage reduction, you can never actually take 0 damage. But this certainly can be useful in some situations. And he recovers 59% HP if HP is 40% or below at the end of the turn, although that is only once. So while he can survive KO attacks multiple times, as long as you don't obviously again die to the follow-up attack, he only gives you the heal once. But that is whenever your HP is 40% or below at the end of the turn, once only. So even if it wasn't him taking any damage, if you end the turn on the low HP, he gives you the heal on the next turn, which is really, really good. Well, sorry, at the end of the turn. So even if it's like your support unit in slot 3, you get unlucky, they're the one that gets tagged with a super, and then yeah, Goku just heals you at the end of the turn, and you go into the next turn with close to full HP, right? Like if you're on 40%, you're gonna have 99% HP, but even if you've dropped down to like 10%, you're still basically up to 70%, 69 right at that point. So very, very strong. Now, when it comes to the rest of his passive, he is a unit that needs to get hit, right? So he gets key 1 up to 5 and chance to crit 9% up to 59% with each attack received. Then he gets an additional 59% for the rest of the battle, starting from the turn in which he receives the 5th attack, and then a 120% attack once he's received the 9th attack. Now, you see a massive difference, right? So I was playing on my JP account the other day, where I have this guy at 55%, trying out the new Omega stage for the first time, like on my actual real account, to see if I could beat it. And this guy goes from doing like, you know, 5 million, 6 million attack stats to going over like 11 million if you actually get hit the 9 times. Now, because of that, this is where the difference of opinion comes in. Now, this guy is a slot 1 tank, right? Guards for the extra turns, builds up defense, right? You can put him in slot 1 or wherever all the attacks are, and he's going to be there to soak up all those hits without taking too much damage. Now, a lot of the time, units where that is their role, a lot of people like to go full dodge builds on those characters. And like I say, I'm pretty sure, I don't know what the actual numbers are exactly, but this is a unit that Truth has gone full dodge on. Now, for me personally, I don't like to do builds like that on a unit that needs to get hit to get buffs. Now, obviously, the arguments are, you know, this Goku, you're running him on your team to be a slot 1 tank. If you never get hit 9 times to get the 120% attack, he's not on your team to be the damage dealer. He's there to be the tank. So I can see the logic behind it to a certain extent, but at the same time, it does feel pretty disappointing, especially because early on, before the event starts getting really hard, you really do want him to take those 5 attacks so that he gets the extra 59%. And if he's constantly dodging like over half of the attacks on every turn, it's going to take you a while to get to that point. And then if he gets tagged by a super, especially like type disadvantage, you do have the possibility that you're going to take some damage, and you only have your guard for the 6 turns. So if he dodges too much and then your guard runs out, you haven't been hit, you haven't built up any defense from your passive. You've obviously stacked some defense from the 18 key supers, but then you've got no guard, your defense isn't super high, and yeah, then you're then at that point relying on the dodge. So if you dodge too much early on and then start getting bad luck with the dodge later on, that could be bad. But obviously, again, like, this guy is a very solid tank. You absolutely can get by on a full dodge build. You're just never going to see his full potential offensively unless it is a much longer event. So I think for me personally, if we take a look as well, remember he's an AGL unit, so he gets free level 5 crit. When you use his active skill, which is the Spirit Bomb, it can be activated when HP is 59% or below with no turn restriction, or from turn 5 when there is an Earth Red Fighter's ally in the same turn, which, considering that's like every Goku, Gohan, Piccolo, etc., like very easy condition to activate on turn 5. And then not only does it get a crit guaranteed, all the rest of your attacks are crits guaranteed on that turn. So he does have some crit built into his kit, but it is only the turn you use the active skill. So you don't necessarily want to give him no crit, because then that's the only turn he's ever going to be getting any crits, right? But again, if you're bringing him on the team primarily to use as a slot 1 damage dealer, and you don't care about how much damage he does, then that's why you would favor like dodge over something like crit. Now, I do think giving him a bit of extra additional is obviously good, because getting that extra 12 key super means he does the extra raise attack and defense. So I think this guy is one of the most complicated out of all of the newer units to do, because you either want to go mostly additional with a little bit of crit, if you're someone who doesn't like to do dodge, maybe at least give him like the 3 dodge, or you lean heavily into dodge and then probably put the rest in additional, because if you're going for the dodge build, like I said, you don't really care about the damage that he's doing, so there's not really much point giving him a load of crit, because he's going to crit on his active skill turn anyway. So then you go additional for the rest, right? So it's up to you which you prefer. If you're not a dodge build enjoyer, then obviously mostly additional, a little bit of crit, and then I would still give him 3 dodge, but that's me. Some people don't like to, and as he is a tank, you know, he is one of the units that you can definitely get away with not giving him 3 dodge. So he's definitely the most complicated out of the 4, because the others are all pretty straightforward. So Gohan is int and gets free level 5 dodge. He has a similar sort of thing where he infinitely stacks on his 18 key, however it is attack rather than defense. Sorry, no, it's attack and defense. It's greatly raise attack on the unit supers. So he's stacking on his 18 key, and then his 12 key is just raise attack for 1 turn. So additional, it does get you an extra bit of damage, but you're not getting any extra defense. So that's something to bear in mind. And then he is another unit that needs to get hit in order to do things. So you get your entrance animation, gives him some stats, 4 key, an additional attack which has a great chance of becoming a super for 6 turns. So he gets additional chance, whereas the Goku gets guard. Then he has damage reduction of 30% from enemies that have been hit by his ultra super. He then gets key and defense as he gets hit, so he needs to receive attacks as well. He gets the 58% for the rest of the battle when he receives 5 attacks, and then a guaranteed additional super from when he receives 8 attacks. So for this guy, once he's been hit 8 times, if you get hit 8 times within the first 6 turns, he's then doing an additional attack with a great chance and then a guaranteed additional super. So he's already going to super 3 times, and both of those additionals have the chance to proc his hidden potential. So with this Gohan, I would say you do want to give him some additional, but you don't need to give him a lot, because all the extra additionals that he has makes it more likely that you will activate the hidden potential one, right? And then his active skill, massively raise attack temporarily, ultimate damage, and then within the turn, attacks are effective against all types. So whilst that's not the same thing as crit, it obviously does increase your damage output against certain enemy types, especially type disadvantage. So just like the Goku, you are kind of covered on this turn. But because he has so many additionals built into his kit, I think crit is probably better for him than just pouring everything into additional. And then again, obviously, depending on how you want to use this guy, you could go ahead and give him dodge. Because he gets damage reduction after hitting an enemy with his 18 key super, he's obviously not really designed to be a slot 1 unit, right? You want to hit the enemy with that super, get the damage reduction, and then, like I say, you can go dodge, you can lean into that dodge build, because he's not getting a ton of extra defense at any point by getting hit. He's getting extra attack from getting hit 5 times, and then a guaranteed additional super from getting hit 8 times. So he doesn't miss out on any defense. Say you were to build him full dodge, and then you go into an event and he dodges literally every single attack. It means his attack power is going to be a little bit lower overall, because no extra buff from the passive, no extra guaranteed super, but his defense isn't affected in any way, right? So dodge is good for this guy, and then I would say you want to splash in a little bit of additional just so you can get these procs that are heavily more likely to occur because of the passive, and then you want to give him crit. So I would say crit is his primary ability, and then it's up to you for the secondary if you want to lean into dodge, or you do want to go heavy on the additional so you can sort of guarantee that you get those extra attacks. But yeah, definitely crit is probably the most important for him, unless you want to go all in on the dodge, because he's an int unit, so technically you can get him up to what, like 30 odd dodge with skill orbs. But yeah, I think a bit of crit, a bit of additional, a bit of dodge. He's a very across the board kind of unit, and then you just lean into more what you want to use him as for the role on the team, right? So I think crit's going to be very good, especially on this active skill turn. Having type effective against all types and crit means he's just going to do a ton of damage, and then if you're getting off all these additionals as well, he's going to be looking very, very good, especially with the additionals all raising his attack for the turn. Each one's going to keep hitting harder and harder, so he's going to look very, very strong. So next up we have the 5th anniversary LRs. They're not going to get their EZA until part 3, but I figured doing just a video on 2 units for the part 2 LRs now, and then these guys a bit later on, would be a bit too short, right? So we're just going to include these guys here. So we're going to start off with Vegito. So these guys are very, very similar on turn 1. They basically have the exact same passive on turn 1, to be fair. It's only really once they transform that they start to become different, and this is where their strengths differ, and therefore their kits are actually almost polar opposites of each other when it comes to the hidden potential. So they greatly raise attack and defense for 1 turn on the 12 key, greatly raise defense for 3 turns on the 18 key here for Vegito. Now he gets a guaranteed additional super when you get 24 key, and then as part of his passive he gets a guaranteed additional super and then a medium chance to launch another super. So he already has, even if you don't get 24 key, has the potential to attack 3 times. If you do get 24 key, he's attacking 4 times. So as you can probably tell, this guy does not need a lot of additional, right? You want to give him a little bit because you want to have the ability to get that hidden potential additional go off. But honestly, you could probably get away with giving him as low as like 9 or even 6 in the hidden potential, just because if he's attacking 4 times, 6 additional in the hidden potential is a 12% chance to do an additional, but that's going to get checked for 4 times. So mine currently has 9 additional, and then all the rest are in crit, so that's an 18% chance, and it's going to get checked for 4 times. So you could go a little bit higher if you really want to get those additionals, but he has no way to crit built into his passive, right? So now that he's doing 4 or even 5 with the hidden potential attacks in 1 turn, you really want those to all be crits. Mine also has level 3 dodge, so mine is 9 additional, 24 crit, 3 dodge with skill orbs. And then, of course, remember, on the turn they transform, they get guaranteed dodge. You could give them more dodge if you want to use them outside of slot 3. Obviously, in slot 3, they have 70% chance to dodge anyway. So these guys, you really want to prioritize their attacking power. And Vegito can just go absolutely insane with additionals. So you want those additionals to be critting. Now, the difference when we look at Gogeta is Gogeta has, for some reason, I don't know why, this is a massive difference and it hugely impacts the amount of damage Gogeta does compared to Vegito, is his passive, he launches an additional attack that has a great chance to become a super, and then another launches an additional attack that has a great chance to become a super. So, oh sorry, no, it is only one. Yeah, because it launches an additional and then has dodge in slot 3. So he only has launches an additional attack that has a great chance to become a super. Vegito has this, but then a guaranteed one as well. Although his is, what, medium chance instead of great chance. So you're more likely that the secondary one for him is going to be a normal attack. But he's already getting one guaranteed super here. So Gogeta, unfortunately, is only getting the one additional attack built in. And if you fail the RNG, now it is 70%, but if you fail the RNG, then it's just going to be a normal attack. And then when you get 24 key with him, he gets, where is it? Oh, it's because I'm so stupid. Okay, so when we look at Gogeta, now Gogeta obviously dodges on the first turn. He launches 2 additional attacks, each of which has a medium chance to become a super. And he has effective against all types. Now, the effective against all types is good, but you notice the massive difference here, which is why Vegito does way more damage than Gogeta on average. Gogeta has 2 additional attacks, each of which has a medium chance to be a super. Whereas Vegito has 1 additional attack with a medium chance to be a super, and 1 guaranteed super. So that is unfortunate, right? And then when you get 24 key, whereas Vegito gets a guaranteed additional super, Gogeta gets guaranteed crits. So as you can see, in the one turn, he can get 3 attacks from his passive, whereas obviously Vegito can get 4, and one of the ones from his passive is guaranteed to be a super. But if Gogeta gets 24 key, he's getting guaranteed crits. Now, it's not super difficult to get key with these guys, right? Like, he gets 5 key in slot 1 or 2 anyway. He's got good links. You run him on teams with good support. So getting 24 key is really not very difficult. So this is what I'm saying about their kits being the complete opposite. Gogeta, you want to go full additional because you get those 2 attacks from the passive and they're just normal attacks. You absolutely want his hidden potential to convert into a super attack. And then, of course, because you've got 24 key, you're getting guaranteed crits all the time anyway. So if the attacks from his passive are only going to be 2 normal attacks, then really you want those normal attacks to be critting, otherwise they're not going to do a lot of damage. But that is given to you by him getting 24 key. So once you've got that 24 key, your worst case scenario turn is he does his 18 key super, then he does 2 additional normals, at least they're both crits, and then you want the hidden potential to pick up the slack and potentially fire off another super. Now, if you get bad luck, you can get the additional to proc and it's only a normal attack. At least it will be a crit thanks to the 24 key, but you can see that massive difference, right? He's doing 1 super and then like 3 normals, whereas on his worst turn, Vegito with 24 key is doing, what, 3 supers and 2 normals, which is kind of crazy, right? So definitely crit for Gogeta. Mine has 21 additional for Gogeta. Mine has 21 additional, 11 crit, and has 3 dodge as well. So yeah, I think it's all in the additional for Gogeta, all in the crit for Vegito. And then when it comes to Gohan and Goku, it kind of depends how you want to use the builds, right? Additional primarily for Goku if you don't want to do a dodge build, or dodge if you do, and then crit for Gohan if you don't want to do a dodge build, or dodge if you do. So let me know what you guys think down below. How are you planning to build your Part 2 LRs if you get them, or how are you planning to build the 5-year LRs? Let me know down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. have a good one.